This is Dinar Shift, and we begin with news that has sent a tremor through the currency community, an unexpected development stirring conversations about the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong that many thought wouldn't emerge so soon. Over the past few days, reports have been flooding our desks from viewers nationwide claiming they have received highly unusual and, crucially, early notifications regarding potential currency exchange appointments. These are not the generic, unverified emails of the past. We are hearing accounts of private exchange invitations and persistent whispers of new rate buzz circulating for 2025. Whether these stories signal a genuine operational shift in the financial landscape, stem from widespread community misunderstanding, or represent something far more complex. The collective intensity of these claims suggests that an extraordinary period of speculation is upon us. In this comprehensive report, we will meticulously dissect every detail, scrutinize every persistent rumor, and analyze the unexplained banking anomalies that have prompted countless messages from you, our dedicated audience. Stay engaged, because the flow of information we're tracking today is unprecedented, and the implications could profoundly reshape your perspective on the entire currency revaluation discussion. The last 72 hours have seen an explosive surge across social media groups, currency-focused forums, and various private chat channels dedicated to the holders of the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong. Individuals in these communities are asserting they've been contacted with unanticipated appointment invitations, purportedly delivered through discreet telephone calls, coded email messages, and even via face-to-face interactions attributed to former banking professionals or knowledgeable financial sector insiders. What differentiates this current wave of claims from the speculative chatter of previous years is not merely the sheer volume of individuals recounting these experiences, but the striking consistency in the procedural details they describe. A significant number of reporters indicate they were contacted without having recently signed up for any list or service. Others claim the contact person already possessed their full name and was aware of the specific currency they held. Furthermore, some insist the provided instructions were notably specific and precise. Arrive alone, ensure you bring official identification, and be prepared for a thorough verification process upon arrival. It is imperative to note that none of these individual claims have been officially acknowledged or validated by recognized banking institutions, nor has any government agency issued a confirmation of an organized, coordinated exchange event. However, the sudden and dramatic increase in the number of similar testimonies has sparked intense speculation regarding the potential existence of a limited private and early access system being discreetly tested behind the scenes. Regardless of whether these circulating stories prove to be verifiable facts or merely the product of intensifying speculation within the holder community, the combined volume and the serious tone of these reports are capturing the attention of even long-time observers, fueling a substantial level of curiosity across the board. The narrative suggests a coordinated effort, which is precisely why these unconfirmed accounts are generating such significant debate right now. One of the most perplexing and surprising elements emerging from these unverified reports is the recurring mention of private off-site locations for these alleged meetings, a distinct departure from the expectation of standard traditional bank branches. Multiple individuals are adamant they were directed to small, unassuming office buildings, security-controlled corporate suites, or even temporary pop-up facilities established for this purpose. Their descriptions frequently include mentions of quiet hallways, minimal or non-existent external signage, and staff members rigorously checking identification at the entrance doors. Some recounted an experience that felt highly organized yet profoundly private, as if the setting was intentionally chosen to restrict general foot traffic and completely bypass public visibility. Other claims suggest participants were requested to secure their mobile phones in a designated locker before being permitted entry into a meeting room. As always, we must stress that none of these highly specific details have been independently confirmed by our team, and every viewer should maintain the critical perspective that these are accounts shared by individuals detailing personal experiences, not official statements released by established financial institutions. Despite the lack of official confirmation, the pattern of reports is sufficiently striking that we cannot responsibly ignore the pervasive community conversation. A key question remains: why would these early appointments, assuming their existence, be conducted away from the established infrastructure of bank buildings? Could this represent a targeted security test, a small-scale pilot program designed to work out logistics, or perhaps nothing more than elaborate storytelling from overly enthusiastic currency holders? At this moment, providing a definitive answer to the question of off-site locations is impossible. What we can confidently state is that these claims, involving private non-bank settings, have introduced a completely new and intriguing layer to the ongoing Dinar and Dong discussions unfolding throughout 2025. This geographical mystery is forcing the community to consider scenarios far outside the realm of simple banking transactions, suggesting a level of pre-planning or operational secrecy that is typically reserved for high-stakes financial maneuvers. It adds significant weight to the narrative that something atypical, whether positive or negative, is potentially being undertaken in the shadows of the mainstream financial world, a development that warrants close, ongoing scrutiny. In parallel with the mysterious appointment claims, the community is also gripped by a second wave of intense discussion, this one focused squarely on reported rate expectations being floated for the year 2025. It is crucial to underscore that no banking entity has confirmed any new rate figures, and there has been no official revaluation announcement from the respective governments or central banks. Nonetheless, social media channels and specialized forums are overflowing with speculative chatter concerning updated potential values for both the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong. Some of this online conversation suggests that economic analysts who are closely monitoring Iraq's fiscal adjustments believe they are identifying signs of fundamentally strengthening currency conditions within the nation's economy. Other discussions are pointing toward Vietnam's consistent trajectory of economic development and its rapid adoption of expanding digital financial systems as key indicators that a major currency shift may be on the horizon. It is vital to remember, however, that these interpretations are speculative projections and are not supported by confirmed financial data or policy announcements. Markets are fundamentally governed by officially announced policy changes and documented economic shifts, not by conjecture or rumor. Yet the reason these internal community discussions are acquiring such significant momentum right now is their unexpected alignment with the reports of early exchange appointments. When two distinct streams of community chatter, specifically rate buzz and alleged exchange invitations, emerge and escalate at the exact same time, the holder community naturally begins the process of attempting to connect the perceived dots. Whether these dots truly form a coherent picture is entirely unknown at this juncture, but the sheer unusualness of the timing is compelling enough that even long-term, skeptical observers who routinely dismiss rumors are dedicating more attention to these developments than they typically would. The synchronized nature of these reports provides an element of perceived coordination that elevates them above the routine speculation that typically cycles through the community. Another noteworthy and fascinating trend emerging from the high volume of community messages we are reviewing involves the increased number of reports specifically mentioning the Vietnamese dong. For a long period, the Iraqi dinar has predominantly monopolized the majority of revaluation-focused conversations. However, in the recent surge of activity, the dong is being referenced far more frequently in claims regarding reported appointments or verification meetings. Some individuals explicitly state that their invitations for contact specifically reference transactions involving the dong. Others report being asked to bring both currencies, but sensed a distinct emphasis or priority placed on the Vietnamese side of the potential exchange. There are also persistent whispers circulating about new rate valuation models being discussed, though, once again, no financial institution has provided any form of confirmation. Analysts who track Vietnam's financial evolution readily acknowledge that the country has been diligently fortifying its economic structure, rapidly modernizing its digital banking capabilities, and steadily increasing its global trade connections. While this progress is significant, it does not automatically guarantee or imply a major currency adjustment. It merely signifies that the dong is assuming a more prominent and influential position within various regional economies and global supply chains. What is genuinely surprising, however, is the sudden and noticeable shift in the narrative from stories focused exclusively on the dinar to mixed dinar-dong accounts. Whether this change reflects genuine, unverified financial movements occurring behind closed doors, or simply an evolving, sophisticated cycle of community rumor, the increased involvement of dong-related chatter is one of the most significant and noticeable patterns to emerge in the 2025 conversation. The dual currency focus suggests a broader, potentially regional, scope to the alleged activity, making it a key point of ongoing discussion and monitoring within the community. Many currency holders are also reporting a new level of detail in the methods of communication used during these alleged early appointment contacts. Unlike older anecdotal stories that often described vague emails or highly generic notifications, this current wave includes reports of much more detailed instructions and personal references. Some individuals claim the callers cited their full legal names, mentioned specific city locations, and even referenced the approximate dates on which the currency was initially acquired. Others recounted being asked to confirm whether their physical bills were neatly organized by denomination or still mixed together in bulk. While such granular specifics could potentially suggest a genuine, highly organized system utilizing comprehensive records, it is also essential to consider that these details could reflect highly sophisticated scam attempts, leveraging publicly accessible information or educated guesswork. This is why we issue a firm reminder Viewers must never, under any circumstances, transmit personal data, banking details, private passwords, or money to anyone claiming to be initiating currency exchanges. Legitimate, verified institutions do not request upfront payments or private login information, and official, large-to-scale banking events are invariably preceded by clear and public announcements from the necessary authorities. Despite the crucial warnings about caution, the sheer intensity and the professional tone of these reported calls have sparked a vigorous debate. Some community members believe the coordinated nature of the details is too specific to be dismissed as random scams. Others correctly argue that modern scammers have developed strategies that are far more convincing and tailored than ever before. For the time being, the precise truth remains elusive and unconfirmed, but the definite rise in detailed contact reports is undeniably propelling discussion across the entire community, contributing heavily to the heightened state of anticipation and scrutiny. Let's now turn our attention to the surprising increase in bank-related oddities being reported by viewers across the nation. A substantial number of individuals have shared stories detailing sudden, unexplained foreign currency purchase restrictions implemented at their local bank branches. Some institutions have reportedly halted the offering of certain currencies entirely without providing a clear explanation, while others have severely limited exchanges to smaller transaction amounts. It is crucial to remember that banks are entitled to adjust their internal policies at any time for purely operational reasons, and these changes frequently have no connection to major, overarching financial events. However, the timing of these reported restrictions has understandably captured the keen attention of Dinar and Dong holders who are actively looking for signals of pending changes. Furthermore, a few individuals claim their usual bank tellers gave unusually vague or evasive answers, such as, "We are currently waiting for updates, a system change is happening," or "We are not permitted to process those specific requests right now." None of these isolated incidents definitively confirm any revaluation or the existence of a special appointment program, but they collectively contribute to the overarching atmosphere of curiosity and uncertainty. It is entirely plausible that routine policy updates, necessary regulatory reviews, or standard software upgrades could inadvertently create these kinds of temporary situations. In other instances, it is possible that bank employees simply misunderstand or miscommunicate internal information. Nevertheless, the fact that a large number of viewers are reporting similar concurrent experiences has added significant momentum to the escalating speculation within the community. As more personal stories continue to surface, another major recurring theme is making its presence felt: secrecy. Many of the individuals claiming to have received early appointment notifications also state they were explicitly instructed to avoid public discussion of the details. Some report being told not to speak about the appointment time, the specific location, or the identity of the person who contacted them. Others claim they were asked to keep the entire interaction confidential and offline until they received further official notice. On one hand, secrecy is frequently a reliable warning sign of scams, as fraudsters often aim to isolate potential victims from outside counsel. On the other hand, staunch supporters of the revaluation theory argue that strict confidentiality is a standard and expected procedure in the implementation of limited pilot tests or highly restricted financial programs. Once again, we cannot confirm the legitimacy of these reported instructions. What we can confirm is that the pervasive theme of secrecy is significantly contributing to the tension and mounting excitement circulating throughout the community. When information is intentionally restricted, speculation inevitably intensifies. Some interpret the secrecy as compelling evidence of a sensitive, coordinated financial rollout, while others view it as an indication that the entire narrative is unreliable and manipulative, regardless of which interpretation is ultimately accurate. The conversation surrounding the necessity of secrecy is currently shaping a substantial part of the 2025 Dinar and Dong discussions. Another recurring question viewers are submitting is whether these detailed reports could possibly be part of a controlled test environment. In the complex world of finance and technology, pilot programs are routinely and quietly tested before they are ever rolled out on a wider public scale. These initial trials typically involve small, pre-selected groups, highly controlled settings, and severely limited access points. Some community members theorize that this controlled testing could explain why only a certain subset of individuals claim to have been contacted for early appointments. They propose that a pilot system might require a diverse sample of currency holders to accurately test verification procedures, new scanning equipment, and document review methods under real-world conditions. Conversely, others believe that a genuine pilot program of this nature would never involve regular citizens and would instead rely on highly trained professional testers or bank personnel. Without official confirmation, both of these possibilities remain firmly in the realm of speculation. However, the concept of an early access test program has gained sufficient traction that it is now considered one of the leading theories being circulated online. Whether this theory holds any factual weight or simply reflects the community's strong desire for tangible progress remains an open question, but it undeniably adds another layer of sophisticated intrigue to today's continuously unfolding conversation. At the heart of this enduring discussion is the Iraqi dinar itself, a currency that has been the singular focus of speculation for well over a decade. Proponents of the revaluation theory highlight Iraq's accelerating economic activity, its expanding network of oil partnerships, and ongoing modernization efforts as strong signals of a long-term strengthening process. Critics, however, argue that Iraq's official currency policy is meticulously managed and is highly unlikely to shift dramatically without clear, formal, and public government decisions. Both sides agree that Iraq's financial trajectory has been evolving steadily year after year. Economic reforms, the introduction of updated banking technology, and efforts to systematically stabilize its markets have been continuously underway. These foundational factors create a real, observable basis that fuels persistent speculation, even in the absence of a revaluation announcement. This is precisely why, when combined with the sudden and unexpected wave of reported early appointments, the community is feeling more energized and simultaneously more divided than it has in several years. Some believe the timing of the current events is simply too convenient and synchronized to be dismissed as mere coincidence. Others strongly caution that real, consequential currency adjustments are always, without exception, publicly declared by the relevant governing bodies. What is undeniable is that the long-running dinar conversation has surged back into the public spotlight with an intensity and broadness that we haven't witnessed in several years. The Vietnamese Dong is also commanding more attention than is typical, with some analysts noting that Vietnam's economic environment has been shifting consistently in a positive direction. Growth in its manufacturing sector, coupled with strong foreign investment and rapidly increasing global trade volume, continues to solidify Vietnam's increasingly prominent role in the Southeast Asian economy. This sustained economic progress has naturally led to renewed discussions about the long-term potential for currency strength. Those who support a significant change for the Dong believe that vast improvements in technology, the modernization of its banking sector, and increased international integration strongly signal a potentially stronger future value. Critics, however, emphasize that Vietnam has historically maintained a tightly controlled exchange rate system and is extremely unlikely to implement sudden major changes without extensive preparation. Yet, the palpable increase in interest in the Dong within the revaluation community is undeniable. Many holders of the Dong are becoming far more vocal, especially in response to the new unverified reports claiming that early appointments are specifically mentioning Dong verification. These claims have instigated robust discussions that the Dong could play a surprisingly significant or even concurrent role in any possible future financial shifts. Whether these theories prove to be accurate or are simply fueled by the circulating speculation, the heightened attention on the Vietnamese Dong is contributing heavily to the persistent 2025 rate buzz. One major area of contention and debate among community members is the possibility that widespread technology upgrades within the banking sector could be responsible for some of the unusual experiences people have reported. Over the past few years, numerous banks globally have transitioned to advanced digital operating systems, updated their client authentication processes, and introduced new scanning and verification equipment. These major systemic changes can frequently cause temporary service delays, trigger policy updates, or lead to confusion among bank employees, potentially accounting for why some clerks provide vague or unusual answers to customer inquiries. Concurrently, modern financial systems are increasingly reliant on automation and digital verification tools. This means that certain behind-the-scenes adjustments could directly affect how foreign currencies are electronically logged, tracked, or processed by bank systems. Supporters of the revaluation narrative argue that these extensive technological upgrades could represent strategic preparations for larger future currency adjustments. Critics counter that banks constantly update their systems as a matter of routine, and the timing of these changes could be purely coincidental to the current rumors. Regardless of which perspective proves correct, the demonstrable presence of major banking technology changes has certainly influenced how people interpret the current wave of rumors. When these significant technology shifts coincide with rising speculation, it is easy for various narratives to blend together and quickly take on a life and momentum of their own. Another critical angle worth exploring is the psychological impact these constant reports are having on the Dinar and Dong communities. Many currency holders have been invested and waiting for a significant financial event for years, even decades, hoping for a major change in value. When fresh claims surface, particularly those that describe private appointments or early verification requests, people naturally experience an intense emotional cocktail of excitement, renewed hope, and dramatically heightened attention. At the same time, these powerful emotional reactions can unfortunately make it more difficult to objectively separate solid fact from purely speculative rumor. This unique emotional landscape is, in part, what keeps the conversation vigorously alive year after year. Supporters argue that maintaining a hopeful outlook is essential because large financial shifts often materialize gradually and then suddenly, with little public warning. Critics counter that excessive optimism can lead individuals to accept unverified information too easily and dangerously. Both sides possess valid points, and both perspectives are actively shaping the community's collective mindset today. The most important action for viewers is to remain grounded, exercise extreme caution, and stay fully informed. As we continue to navigate today's complex report, it is crucial to reiterate that while these circulating stories are undeniably compelling and intriguing, they remain entirely unverified until official, public announcements are issued by recognized financial authorities. As new individual accounts continue to emerge, some people have naturally begun comparing the 2025 rumors to previous waves of speculation that occurred in past years. In earlier cycles, rumors often revolved around leaked bank memos, vague overseas updates, or unverified market shifts. This time, the core focus is much more centered on direct contact, alleged real phone calls, specific appointment instructions, and claimed face-to-face interactions with financial representatives. This shift makes the current wave feel more personal, immediate, and urgent to some holders. However, it is important to remember that rumors inevitably evolve over time, often becoming more detailed and seemingly sophisticated as individuals share and embellish their experiences. Comparisons to earlier years also reveal how the primary narratives change based on prevailing economic conditions, major global events, or observable market behaviors. Some individuals argue that the 2025 environment is fundamentally different because global finance is now far more digital, more deeply interconnected, and more rapidly responsive to economic data. Others believe the underlying patterns are essentially the same as always, a cyclical rise and fall of intense curiosity that spikes whenever collective anxiety or hope increases. In either scenario, understanding how today's claims stack up against earlier ones helps viewers process the situation with clearer, more measured judgment. One of the most frequently asked questions we receive is whether large financial institutions are currently making any specific preparations for an unusual amount of currency activity this year. Based solely on public statements and official communication channels, banks are continuing to operate business as usual, with no public announcements whatsoever regarding special exchange programs. However, banks routinely change internal procedures, update operational policies, or limit certain transactions based on global conditions or internal audits. These routine, internal adjustments can easily be misinterpreted as signals of major impending events. For example, if a bank temporarily halts the sale of a particular currency due to low supply, required auditing, or regional restrictions, customers may instinctively connect these changes to the broader speculation they have been exposed to. This then serves to amplify the general level of speculation. Supporters of the revaluation narrative argue that banks would naturally avoid making public announcements until the specific optimal moment arrives. Critics counter that a major national or global financial change would necessitate a high degree of transparency and substantial public documentation. Until official institutions release formal statements, viewers must continue to treat all circulating information, even highly exciting or convincing reports, with a necessary degree of caution and skepticism. Another conversation topic currently gaining traction is whether geopolitical developments could be influencing the current rise in speculation. Iraq, like many nations undergoing significant transformation, continues to navigate complex economic reforms, political discussions, and international partnership formations. Vietnam also remains highly active in regional trade, manufacturing expansion, and technology integration. These global, dynamic shifts often create fertile ground for speculation, especially when currency discussions center on long-term economic potential. Proponents of the revaluation idea argue that demonstrable economic improvements in these countries could eventually exert a direct influence on currency value. Critics correctly respond that any major currency adjustment requires clear and deliberate public policy actions, not simply general economic progress. Nevertheless, these broad global developments undeniably contribute to how people interpret the circulating rumors. When foreign investment increases or trade activity rises, some currency holders view this as a potential signal of forthcoming financial change. Whether these global factors have any direct connection to the unverified reports of early appointments remains unproven, but they significantly influence the community's mindset and provide a deeper context for the current wave of intense discussions. One particularly specific report that we have received repeatedly involves claims of sudden bank account alerts or unexpected changes appearing within mobile banking applications. Some individuals state that their accounts briefly displayed system updates or experienced temporary access limitations at unusual non-business hours. These experiences are almost certainly nothing more than normal, routine technical maintenance cycles that banks perform regularly, often overnight. However, because so many viewers are actively scrutinizing their accounts for signs of a major event, even routine maintenance can inadvertently trigger intense speculation. It is a natural human tendency for people to interpret ordinary, everyday occurrences within the context of extraordinary rumors, particularly when those rumors are rapidly gaining traction. Nonetheless, we emphasize that account updates, maintenance messages, or brief access delays are not reliable indications of any confirmed financial shift. Modern banking technology necessitates constant, incremental updates. The reason we mention these reports is that they collectively contribute to the growing sense of mystery surrounding this week's wave of chatter. In moments where multiple unusual-seeming events, calls, restrictions, messages, appear to stack up, it is easy for speculation to escalate rapidly, even in the complete absence of verified concrete evidence. Viewers have also shared stories regarding increased activity from wealth advisors and private bankers. Some report being contacted for what were described as routine financial reviews, but they found the timing of the outreach to be unusual or highly coincidental. Others claim these advisors specifically asked questions about foreign currency holdings, an inquiry they insist has not happened to them previously. Wealth advisors routinely check in with their clients, especially at the start of new financial years or during periods of general market volatility. This is entirely standard operating procedure. However, when this outreach overlaps with rising community speculation, some holders interpret these interactions as part of a larger, coordinated picture. Again, there is no official confirmation that advisors are participating in any kind of early appointment program. But these interactions have sparked discussion about whether professionals in the financial sector are generally anticipating changes or are simply acting on their standard, preset schedules. As always, it is absolutely essential for viewers to avoid making definitive conclusions based on circumstantial evidence. Normal, routine activities can appear extraordinarily significant when placed alongside widespread circulating rumors. Yet these reports remain part of the larger narrative because they add to the overall sense of movement and potential change within the financial landscape, whether that movement is real or simply perceived. Another major question viewers are persistently asking is whether the non-disclosure instructions mentioned in some reports are legitimate or simply an inherent feature of rumor culture. Several individuals who claim to have received early appointments assert they were explicitly told not to discuss any details publicly, not to post anything online, and not to share screenshots or messages. On the one hand, strong secrecy is a commonly accepted red flag in fraudulent schemes. On the other hand, some highly sensitive financial pilot programs, if they truly exist, would logically involve an element of confidentiality. The significant challenge for viewers is accurately determining whether these claims accurately reflect real events or are simply being used to add dramatic flair to already circulating stories. It is also entirely possible that some individuals are merely repeating what they have heard from others, rather than describing a direct personal experience. Regardless, the recurring mention of confidentiality agreements is one of the strongest emotional triggers within the community. When people are told not to tell anyone, they often immediately believe something genuinely serious and significant is unfolding. While secrecy can effectively generate excitement, it can also expose individuals to substantial risk if they place blind trust in unverified, isolated sources. That is why anyone receiving unexpected communication of this nature should remain cautious, highly skeptical, and extremely protective of their personal information, until the legitimacy of the source can be unequivocally established. One of the newest and most dramatic patterns emerging in the last few days is the claim that some individuals received approximate rate figures during their early contact conversations. These unverified reports suggest that the callers mentioned potential value ranges or estimated exchange values for the dinar or the dong. We must state clearly, none of this is verified. Legitimate financial institutions do not provide rate predictions over the phone. If someone provides unofficial rate numbers, it is almost certainly speculation, or worse, a deliberate attempt to manipulate trust. Nevertheless, these reports are spreading quickly because they neatly align with the widespread rate buzz already circulating in the community. In moments where many people are eagerly searching for clues, Even unconfirmed, unverified numbers can gain astonishing momentum. It is crucial for viewers to understand that currency rates are determined by official, publicly declared monetary policy and fundamental economic data, not by secret speculative phone conversations. Despite this fact, the appearance of specific rate numbers in the current wave of stories adds yet another dramatic layer that helps to keep the conversation intensely alive. Whether these alleged numbers originated from misunderstanding, misinterpretation, or creative storytelling, they have now become an integrated part of the narrative surrounding the unexpected early appointments. Another highly discussed topic is the theory that certain geographic regions are receiving disproportionately more attention than others. Many of the reports we receive repeatedly mention major U.S. cities, including Dallas, Phoenix, Atlanta, Tampa, Nashville, Denver, Las Vegas, and Salt Lake City. These locations have been consistently referenced as areas where unusual activity has allegedly taken place. It is unclear whether this reported clustering reflects actual organized activity or simply where the most vocal and engaged community members happen to reside. Population density alone can account for why more reports originate from large cities. Larger cities possess more banks, more financial workers, more currency holders, and more active communication channels. However, some viewers believe that this regional clustering indicates organized waves of appointments or a phased rollout. Others argue it is nothing more than statistical coincidence. Without definitive confirmation, both interpretations remain purely speculative. The reason this pattern matters is that viewers in these cited cities are particularly alert right now, intensely watching bank behavior, monitoring email inboxes, and listening closely for unusual calls. Whether or not these regional claims hold any truth, they are undeniably influencing the emotional atmosphere and significantly intensifying the level of anticipation across the entire community. As we reach the conclusion of this extensive report, it is vital to address the enormous volume of messages we've received, from viewers asking for guidance on what immediate action to take if they receive an unexpected appointment call or email. The safest and most straightforward response is simple: treat every unexpected contact with extreme caution. Absolutely avoid providing personal information unless you have independently verified the authenticity of the source through established official banking channels. Do not, under any circumstances, share account numbers, passwords, or private identification data. Be wary of anyone asking for upfront payments or requesting direct access to digital wallets or crypto accounts. Legitimate financial institutions do not operate in this manner. Simultaneously, if someone genuinely believes they have received a real communication, they should take the time to review the details meticulously, compare them to known banking procedures, and consult with a trusted, independent financial professional. The primary goal is to remain appropriately prepared without becoming financially vulnerable. Regardless of whether this current wave of reports proves to be groundbreaking news or just another natural cycle of intense speculation, staying grounded in verifiable facts is essential. Preparation is prudent, blind trust is not. As we wrap up today's detailed report, one conclusion is definitively clear. The Dinar and Dong communities are currently navigating one of the most active and emotionally charged rumor cycles witnessed in recent years. Claims of unexpected early appointments, private off-to-site meetings, selective contact lists, and whispered 2025 rate chatter are spreading with remarkable speed and consistency. Some viewers are interpreting this intense activity as a strong sign that something genuinely significant is unfolding behind the scenes of the financial world. Others believe it simply reflects the natural, expected rise and fall of speculation within long-standing currency discussions. The ultimate truth remains officially unconfirmed. What we can assert is that the current level of community activity, the consistency of certain recurring details, and the overall intensity of holder interest combine to make this one of the most captivating and highly discussed chapters in the entire revaluation conversation to date. Whether the recent reports are genuine early signals of financial movement or merely a coincidence of timing that has captured the collective imagination, you, our viewer, deserve clear, carefully sourced, and grounded information to make your own assessments. Stay alert, stay cautious, and stay connected to our updates. We will continue monitoring every single development, every claim, and every official update as more details inevitably emerge.